We're sitting here at Loma Alta Park. While it's hard to look across and to see the area where the Altadena Community Garden once was, there's still trees. You'll hear tennis goes on. Horses have returned to the equestrian ring. This is a place where I've walked my dog. This is a place where my organization held picnics at the pergola. It's a little bit of a welcoming from the past, but it still has a lot of hope and promise for the future. Hi, I'm Whitney Haggins. I've lived in Altadena for 13 years. I'm a Pasadena native, so I've been familiar with the area. When I bought my house, it was just something very special. My house needed a lot of work when I first got it, and it became a great adventure. I almost had it where I wanted it and was able to celebrate the holidays with family. It was a place where I had pumpkin carving, where you would look in the backyard. There were 40 pumpkins all over the place that you could choose from if friends came to carve. I was fortunate that I had my late mother with me, and she came to love Altadena. And she just said, "It's so beautiful here." And she stayed with me until she passed. So that was the home where she passed. As soon as the fires happened, I was asked, "Are you going to rebuild?" And I was like, "Of course." There was never any doubt. That day actually was my 32-year work anniversary. I went into work celebrating 32 years. I ended the day evacuating my house. I happened to see on Facebook, my childhood friend posted a portrait of his son standing in the rubble of their home. And he's about less than a mile away from me. And something in me snapped and said, "I'm going to see my house." And I took a rather circuitous, and now that I think back, very frightening path. I saw things on fire. I saw the Altadena Country Club still kind of smoldering. Open fires, people trying to put things out with hoses, neighbors trying to help where they could. I think the biggest devastation was when I hit Altadena Drive and Fair Oaks. It was just this eerie, quiet, and you just saw it just smoldering. And as I came down to my street, and as we got a little farther, and I said, "No, it's gone." It's a rare moment when you see that kind of devastation. You forget how to breathe. You forget all your senses. You are in shock. It's almost as if your whole life, everything is in stasis. And you just sit there. But once that was over, I started moving. I started filing claims. I started everything the next day. And I think that's how I cope. Just keep moving, just keep moving, just keep going. I grew to hate the color pink for a while, and I couldn't figure out why I was getting angry. And one day, driving along, it finally dawned on me the fact that stucco, when it burns, turned pink. And I'd see this weird pinkish kind of shade for miles. So every time I saw the Army Corps of Engineer clearing a space, I cheered because I said, "There's another one. It's gone. It's gone." I felt lighter, I'll be honest. With each truckload that left, I felt lighter. I am working with the Foothill Catalog. That's a nonprofit whose goal is basically to help find a way for people to come back to homes, beautifully designed homes, pre-approved by LA County, in a catalog. I had been hearing about them, and I go to the Foothill Catalog site and I said, "Let me see what they're doing." I click on one. That was the second design that they had, and I said, "Oh, that's nice." I click on the second one, And that plan is called the Lewis. And I looked at it and I gasped. And I said, this is the house of my dreams. And I started screaming. And my sister coming in, and I'm pointing. Look, look. And I said, that's it. That's it. Love the beautiful porch. That was another lovely thing about being in Altadena. You could sit out and neighbors stopped. They said hi. You came to know the neighbor dogs are from the block below. Conversations. You watched the kids in strollers. It felt idyllic. And I think with the house that I'm going to have, I will have that again. When I evacuated, I had both my Christmas trees up. I had 2 trees, which was a tradition we've always had in my family of 2 trees. One of my trees was 90% Swarovski crystal. I had been collecting for years and trying to evacuate. I turned around and I saw my tree, dark, and I realized, oh my gosh, this is a scenario I had never thought of. I grabbed my grandmother's ornament, one of my late mother's ornaments, a trio of glass angels that I had always loved, and a couple of my Swarovski ornaments, and I put them in a box. I grabbed the family topper and an ornament that my mother had given each one of us girls. And that's all I had of Christmas. Coming into the holidays, I've had people asking me, are you going to have a tree? And I said, I don't know. I don't know. I'm going to gauge everything on how I feel. I will definitely be there to watch Christmas Tree Lane light up, because that is Altadena, and I've gone down Christmas Tree Lane every year of my life. There's no way I'll ever be able to repeat what I had, but it'll free me up for something new. And now it's just so much hope when I drive around and you see a frame house or you see something and it's like, wow, look at where they're coming. And you realize and it's coming back. It's slowly but surely coming back.
From LA Times Studios, this is Rebuilding LA. I'm Kate Cagle. Earlier in the production of this podcast, we spoke to the folks at the Foothill Catalog Foundation, the nonprofit architecture group Whitney Haggins tapped to help her rebuild her home in Altadena after the Eaton fire. The design she chose is a classic California bungalow named the Lewis. It's pre-approved by Los Angeles County. Whitney hopes to break ground on her new home in the new year and be able to sit on that porch by next Christmas. After hearing her story, we thought we would rerun our conversation with the head of the Foothill Catalog, Alex Athenson, so you could hear the origin story of this group, which has its eye on the future of Altadena while borrowing from an idea from the past, the old Sears Roebuck mail order catalog. We originally aired this interview back in July as part of episode 5. To catch up on the latest of what this group is up to, in addition to helping Whitney design her house, we've added a link to its website in our show notes. Here's our chat with Alex. We have Alex Athenson in the studio with us. He's the president and co-founder of the Foothill Catalog Foundation. It's a nonprofit he established with his wife right after the fires to provide Altadena residents with simple, affordable building plans. Not custom designs, but designs that do reflect the architectural diversity of the neighborhood with Spanish styles, craftsmen, and your classic ranch. Alex, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Well, I know that you don't live in Altadena, but nearby. So let's just start with your story. Take me to January, what was your experience with the fire?
Sure. So my wife and I were a half block south of the Altadena border. We'd been there for 5 years, and on the night of January 7th, like everyone else, we were watching what was going on in the Palisades and really watching with horror as what was happening to our city. And then as we were both coming back from our jobs, we're both architects here in the city. We heard about the fire in Eaton Canyon that had sprung up. By the time we had gotten back to our home in northwest Pasadena, again, about a half block south of the Altadena border, the San Gabriels that we could see out our window were completely on fire. So we knew we had to leave at that
Wow.
point. We already had friends calling us from all over the city asking, "Are you guys okay? Do you need a place to stay?" And we ended up in Valley Village with our to go bags, which for me didn't include any underwear. With my wife, I think she had about 8 pairs of jeans. So we were not prepared at all. And I think, like a lot of people in Altadena and Pasadena area, were doing this as a precautionary measure, and didn't really look back at our home that this might be the last time we see it. And so when we woke up early the morning of the 8th, we were watching the news coverage and seeing the flames creep closer and closer. There was a reporter standing on Montana Street, which was our street, with homes fully engulfed behind her. So at that point, Cynthia and I, we turned off the TV. We didn't need to see our neighborhood burn down on live television. So for about 3 hours, we were kind of in limbo, not really knowing what would happen, but really assuming the worst. Uh, and around 12:30, we had a friend driving around checking on his own family's properties. His in-laws' home off of Lake Avenue in Altadena that they had lived in for 37 years had burned completely to the ground. And he drove past our place and sent us an apocalyptic looking picture uh, of the home still standing, but with flames and clouds of smoke in the vicinity and nearby. So at that point, we knew our home still stood, and thankfully it survived. But those few hours, kind of watching the flames creep closer and closer, and that feeling that we might not have a place to go back to, something I'll definitely never forget.
Wow. Well, it makes sense why you would want to be involved in something like the Foothill Catalog Foundation. And I want to get into that in just a moment. But first, can you describe the architectural history of Altadena? What kind of homes were there?
Sure. So what really makes Altadena unique, and what I think makes it special, is its diversity. It's really well known for all of these people from different ethnicities, backgrounds, means, all living in harmony in the same streets, the same neighborhoods. Um, and that's really reflected in its architectural character as well. You have your small craftsman bungalows, your modest Spanish Mission Revival homes, but you also have your larger mid century modern homes or your American Colonial Revival homes. So these all again, the architecture exists in harmony just as the people do, and you have your landscapers, your artists, your scientists all living in the same neighborhoods as your tech moguls, your executives, your celebrities. And this harmony and diversity makes up the character and identity of Altadena. So it's this real mix that lives together in unity. And after the fires, that's what's at risk of being lost.
So, what is the Foothill Catalog and what are you offering?
So, Foothill Catalog Foundation, we are a nonprofit organization that was founded by my wife and I, two licensed architects again, who went through this trauma and really trying to find a way to make rebuilding as attainable for everyone as possible, not just people with large homes, people with the means, with the insurance coverage, but for the rest of the community, the multi generational homeowners, the young couples, the elderly couples who are looking to rebuild modest homes in modest neighborhoods. So, the Foothill Catalog Foundation, our mission is to develop a catalog of pre approved home designs that allow residents to expeditiously, resiliently, and affordably rebuild their homes that also respect the identity and retain the heritage of the place of Altadena. And doing so as a renaissance of the Sears catalog model, which many people know. Sears, Roebuck, and many other companies in the 20th century published catalogs where you could flip through a series of pre-designed, pre-engineered home styles and effectively order them out of a catalog.
Houses?
Yeah, exactly. Have you not heard of the Sears catalog?
Well, I know about the Sears catalog. I'm old enough to have seen a Sears
Yeah, yeah.
catalog, but I don't remember it having houses in it. Give me the history.
Yeah, I'll break it down. So, yeah, so Sears Roebuck in the early 20th century, what they developed and what many other companies developed was publishing pre-designed, pre-engineered home styles, ranging in a variety of different architectural languages and sizes and configurations that essentially you could order out of the catalog like you would a toaster, like you would any other good from Sears. And you would pay for the plans, you would pay for the materials, and they would ship it directly to your door. And many times, either you would build it, or your local contractor or your friends would help assemble your home. And that was a model of how modest working class families didn't go through custom design processes to build their homes, but effectively had made quality building in the 20th century accessible for many people and essentially to build the American dream, right? And even in Altadena in the San Gabriel Valley, a lot of our homes and neighborhoods that we know and love were built out of catalogs. And so we feel that this mechanism, this renaissance of this year's catalog in the Foothill catalog, can be a real way to make rebuilding attainable for as many families as possible.
This sounds like something that you had thought about before. Did you see this as an opportunity then to bring back this idea?
It was always something that was on my mind and aware of and in awe of what impact the Sears catalog had on our country, really. My great-grandfather in Northern Illinois built his own house in the 50s out of a Sears catalog home, and he lived there for 70 years until the day he died. So I think it just sort of clicked when after the fires, and my wife and I were sleeping on an air mattress in our friend's living room, feeling really fortunate to have had our home survived, but really trying to figure out a way to make rebuilding that, as architects, we know is a difficult process, and especially in California.
Well, I want to get into your process, but first, let's take a quick break.
Rebuild SoCal Partnership is taking a powerful look at the rebuilding process in Altadena and the Palisades in the aftermath of the devastating wildfires. In this episode, we have an in-depth conversation with Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath, who has spent the past 7 months leading the complex task of rebuilding communities. Supervisor Horvath has listened to families who have recounted the traumas that they have gone through, and she has dug into the details of how schools, businesses, and homes can begin again by removing barriers to reconstruction. Supervisor Horvath has some recommendations for how reforming government can accelerate fire recovery. Tune in.
During one of the most severe windstorms Southern California experienced in more than a decade, the Palisades and Eaton fires ignited, leaving heartbreaking losses in our communities. Now, as we build back, we're building stronger, cleaner, and more resilient. In communities most vulnerable to dangerous weather conditions and wildfires, Southern California Edison is placing power lines underground, hardening the electric system by installing wires with protective coating, and adding advanced technology to help keep communities safe. So when Southern California faces the next storm, the next most severe event, we'll be ready. Learn more at sce.com/disaster recovery.
We are back with Alex Athenson of the Foothill Catalog Foundation, which has created pre-approved home designs for Altadena residents looking to rebuild after the Eaton fire. So walk me through as if I was a client.
You're not going to be able to obtain a custom design. You're not going to be able to choose the size of your closets, or I want this door to be a little bit bigger. But if we can develop a series of designs, and our goal is to target 10 initial designs and then scale over the course of the next few months up to 50 potentially.
Wow.
Yeah, is to provide that variety. And so they're non-custom designs, they're stock plans that are pre-approved, that are kind of set in place. But as long as we can meet 90 to 95% of people's needs in terms of size, configuration, and have different style options that reflect the identity and the character of the neighborhoods that were lost before, a homeowner can skip through and not have to go through an often arduous custom design process. If a design is pre-approved in LA County, um, you'll be able to skip through a large portion of the permitting process, which is often really cumbersome and time consuming as well.
Just to be clear, these are pre-approved designs, but this is not your cookie cutter home.
Exactly. And I think our focus, really the two core tenets of our mission of the Foothill Catalog is not only to retain the people, but to retain the place and to retain that identity, that look, that feel, the palpable heritage of Altadena that's so special.
So, what has been the process of working with the county on this?
So that's actually been, I mean, even in these early stages, one of our biggest accomplishments has been this public-private um, cooperation where LA County and their whole team has been really open to listen to the community of what is needed or what innovations of this process can be streamlined to make this disaster recovery effort more efficient. At the end of April, it resulted in the launch of opening up the pre-approval process for LA County, which essentially separates your non-site specific plan checks and approvals with your site specific approvals. So that LA County can review a set of architectural, a set of structural, a set of energy calculations and drawings that don't have a lot or a site or even a client in place. And so by front loading a lot of that permitting efforts, by the time a homeowner actually selects a pre-approved design, they can be so much further in the process and again be as close as possible to construction.
So, it sounds like you're still in the process of getting some of these plans approved. So, there might be some incentive for homeowners to wait.
So we are working as fast as we can to pre-approve as many plans as possible, and that's been, as a nonprofit organization, that's been the lift is trying to aggregate the resources and the capacity to design. First starting with 10 plans, but then eventually getting to 50 designs is our ultimate goal to provide that variety for homeowners. So the pre-approval process launched at the end of April, and as of this last week, the Foothill Catalog pre-approved the first design in LA County history, and that was the Lewis. And it was a 1,260 square foot, 3-bed, 2-bath craftsman design, modeled actually after a home on Lewis Avenue that was lost in the fires.
For folks who aren't architecturally savvy, can you describe the Lewis and the craftsman style and what makes a home a craftsman?
The craftsman style really comes out of the arts and crafts movement of the late 19th century, early 20th century. And it's really iconic, actually, of the Southern California region, but in Pasadena, Altadena specifically. So you have a lot of, typically in that era, you would have a lot of wood timbers, you would have shingle siding, long horizontal eaves.
Sounds flammable.
Exactly, right? So the challenge with craftsman style and that aesthetic and that language is how do we translate that to a 21st century resilient style and version of that? So with the Lewis, this first pre-approved design, what we're utilizing is the technology of the building industry to provide non-combustible substitutes for cedar siding, for wood timbering, so that we can articulate the same look and feel of a craftsman home, but to meet the very high fire severity standards that go above and beyond the resiliency of the standard building code. And so by getting this first plan, the Lewis pre-approved in a craftsman style and having it meet those resiliency standards was a huge milestone for us and really a proof of concept that it is possible to have both. It is possible with the intelligence of the 21st century to incorporate the look and feel and the character of the 20th century. And we're also working with Habitat for Humanity in San Gabriel Valley, who is immediately taking the Lewis and is going to utilize that craftsman design, a similar Spanish design, and a similar California ranch and are going to immediately start using those designs for over 22 families to rebuild for in Altadena.
Let's talk about cost because affordability is such a huge issue,
Right.
specifically in Altadena. Many people found themselves underinsured, or maybe that was a generational home that had been paid off, so they didn't even have insurance on it. How is this helping people who might be in a sticky financial situation rebuild?
Right. So off the bat, typically architectural design fees going through a custom design process. What's typical is about 10 to 15% of the construction cost. Say you're building an $1 million square foot or $1 million home, that's the construction cost. Um, Typically 100,000 to 150,000, that could be your design fees. And similarly, in the permitting process, uh, the costs of permitting and usually the length of time that that takes as an architect, I know all too well that can take months and often years to even permit a building. So, by providing non custom solutions and as a nonprofit, by being able to leverage philanthropy and donations to develop this catalog that can, again, give homeowners a head start of moving past the custom design phase, moving as far as possible through permitting to not only save money, but to save time and emotional bandwidth as well. And that non-custom, that catalog model also imbibes a real predictability in each of these phases as well. So if the design is predictable, then the permitting process can be predictable as well for LA County. And then also on the back end, when it comes to construction, by creating a predictable design that builders can vet and can really plan for, that isn't going to be changed, that isn't going to be customized, they're able to make a lot more realistic assumptions and lower their costs and also scale their operations too to incorporate repeatability, economy of scale to bring that cost per square foot down from sort of the astronomical numbers that we've been seeing.
Now, you're still rebuilding in a fire zone. Obviously, all of this will be up to modern codes, but how have you thought about sustainability in your design?
Yeah. So, what the Foothill Catalog really wants to emphasize is that quality design and quality construction and affordability, attainability should not be mutually exclusive. So, we are not only designing to the very stringent 2025 standards that the California Building Code, which is one of the most stringent in the country in terms of sustainability, resiliency, we're rebuilding these neighborhoods with such a greater sense of safety and of intelligence as well. But what is really important to us is to go above and beyond that and to design to, uh, with all of our catalog homes, to the very high fire hazard zone, severity zone standards, whether a homeowner is in that zone or not. Um, and trying to, again, create that predictability in the design so that the cost of creating resilient solutions is not out of reach.
So, tell me about the software that's making this possible.
So this is actually a really exciting partnership, and as I was talking to collaboration and the power of that, Autodesk has uh, found the Foothill catalog as they were looking to support the LA fire rebuild in whatever way they could, and they've been supporting um, efforts to rebuild Notre Dame in Paris. They were instrumental in helping rebuild parts of Ukraine by providing resources, funding, and their software specifically enables us as architects to actually scale from one design to Lewis up to 50 within a matter of months, which otherwise would be impossible. So
Oh, because I was picturing you with like a ruler and grid paper and
if I could, I love to draw that way, but to increase our efficiency and to also, like I said, to meet the 21st century kind of standards of efficiency, Autodesk has been incredible with what they've been able to do for us.
what kind of reaction are you getting from the community?
It's been incredible, actually, the support we've gotten from the community, and being a member of the Altadena community myself. Um, it's really spoken volumes to how people look at the Foothill catalog and what we're uh, trying to develop as really matching this shared community vision of what they think Altadena was and can be again. And I think uh, the Foothill Catalog being one of these mechanisms that can help retain as many people as possible, retain the place and that feel of our home as much as possible. That's been our greatest strength is lifting people up and giving people the hope that this is possible. You can do this. You can rebuild this place that we all know and love. It's not gone forever. It doesn't have to be.
Right now, you're talking about having 50 different pre-approved plans. When you think about where you want to see Altadena be in 5 to 7 years, how many homes do you hope to build out of this catalog?
It could be hundreds. I mean, hopefully we are providing enough variety that for who it makes sense to. I mean, we're one of these resources out there. A lot of people will build their custom homes and build something completely new. But I think with 50 designs, that will offer enough variety and size and style, can really maintain the diversity of these neighborhoods and the eclecticism that's that's really identifiable of the region and capture that sense of place.
If people are listening and interested, and at least maybe even just want to take a peek at the designs that you've come up with, where can they find you?
So our website is foothillcatalog.org. Follow us on Instagram at the Foothill Catalog. On our website, we have about 30 to 35 initial concept designs that were actually submitted from a variety of different designers from across the region and from across the country, that now we're taking in and developing internally to use as the basis of the ideas that will eventually make up the Foothill Catalog, these 50 designs. So it's a real community effort, and it's really symbolic of the community rebuilding itself. And for LA architects, designers, building professionals to be able to give back to their home as well. So yeah, on our website and on our Instagram, you'll be able to see a lot of those designs. And even by the week, we're coming out with more and then also getting feedback too from the community of what they like, what they're looking for, and what solutions can be most effective to rebuild Altadena the right way.
All right, that was Alex Athenson. He's the co-founder of the Foothill Catalog Foundation. Thank you so much. This has been really fascinating, and thank you for all your work to rebuild the community.
Yeah, thanks, Kate. Appreciate you having me.
That's it for Rebuilding LA. If you'd like to know more about the Foothill Catalog Foundation, we've got a link on our episode page. Find that wherever you listen to our podcasts. We'll also post a drawing of the Lewis. You can see additional images when you check out the show on YouTube. All our episodes out so far are posted there. Please check it out. We want to wish everyone a warm holiday season. Our thoughts are with all of you in Altadena, the Pacific Palisades, and Malibu. We are so grateful you've continued to share your stories with us. We'll be back with a fresh episode next week. Now, a word from our sponsor.
The following is a paid message from Rebuild SoCal Partnership. Sponsor has no editorial oversight.
Los Angeles County Supervisor Lindsay Horvath has spent much of the past 7 months helping the areas of her district that were devastated by the January wildfires. She has met with residents, coordinated public and private resources, and helped to open schools and businesses. Horvath recently met in the Palisades with John Switalski of Rebuild SoCal Partnership to talk about what still needs to be done and about how reforming government can accelerate fire recovery.
So the Palisades fire was called that because it broke out in the Palisades, but it impacted so much more. Basically from here, as far as the eye can see, and all the way down through Malibu, they've all been impacted in different ways. And that's why coming together at scale to help in the rebuild process is going to be so critical.
This is just utter devastation. When you first heard that the fires broke out, what came to mind?
I was actually at our Board of Supervisors meeting. We left the meeting and raced over to be on site with community members. We saw how it was spreading and knew that it was going to go beyond the Palisades community. And my heart was in my stomach, and knowing the conditions that had been predicted. And I was worried for the people who had to show up and protect people. It was unlike anything I've ever experienced before in my life.
You must have known many people who have been affected, lost their homes, lost their businesses. What has that been like?
It is absolutely devastating to hear the number of stories, the magnitude of impact that people have felt as a result of this fire, the emotional and mental toll that it takes. I remember when we had our very first town hall meeting, there was a family from Malibu, a mother, a father, and 2 daughters, who came and talked to me afterwards. And their family sort of crystallized for me the range of experience that so many people were feeling and thinking through. And I knew that my team had to show up thinking about all of those things for each and every family that was impacted. We led at the county level in partnership, locally, state, and federal, on the debris removal process. And our partners with FEMA and Army Corps of Engineers have been extraordinary. This has been the fastest debris removal process in history. But we know that despite the success of that, until people are home, until people are back in their communities, they have their schools and their places of worship, their grocery stores, and all of that, our work is not done.
Since the wildfires, what have you seen take place here in this community?
We saw people who lost their homes still showing up to volunteer for other people who lost their homes. And that spirit of togetherness, I think, is really what got people through that immediate tragic time. It's what's given us hope that we will be able to come back together as a community. And long term, we know that we have to create a recovery and rebuild process that makes sense, that is streamlined, that is affordable, that gets people back into their homes and their neighborhoods as quickly as possible.
We're now here at a cleaned up site. When you see this, what goes through your mind?
I'm just so grateful for the people who have done this work in record speed to give people hope that they can come back into their communities. That means grocery stores and schools. It means places of worship and community centers. And so we can't do that without skilled, trained labor, and we have very important signs of progress at this stage.
There have been many academics that have weighed in to suggest that it's tough to build big projects in California, and really there's too many vetoes along the way, and it almost makes it impossible in many cases.
You know, there's the city, there's the county, there's the state, and all coming with different regulation. So what we have been proposing is creating a rebuilding authority for the entire region. We want to be able to purchase materials at scale to help drive down the cost. We want labor to be at the table because we are setting standards for safety and healthy work environments, but also making sure that we are creating good paying jobs, that we are using the expertise of the industry to inform this rebuild. So we do so quickly, safely, and with all of the experts' best practices in mind.
We see in times of crises that the infrastructure is so interrelated. Roads and evacuation routes, water systems. What have you learned from the lessons of the fire that you would put forward in investing more into infrastructure?
We need to make sure that we're undergrounding utility equipment. We've seen how that has been a contributor to some of the devastation that we have seen. One of the things that I did as chair of the Board of Supervisors is do a countywide look at our water systems infrastructure. And we need to be addressing our water systems and that we're investing in the kind of infrastructure that we need for safe, clean drinking water, for water to fight fires, for everything that we need in our future.
What is it like to bear that burden in a time where your constituents really need you to be many things, a policy leader? They also just need you to be a human being they can rely on.
So I just try to show up for people in the way that I hope somebody would show up for my family in a time of emergency. But we also have to learn about how can we be building better, what things helped us move quickly and at scale, and what helps us be able to build the housing that we need for our region, because I'm also thinking about what is this community going to look like for our future generations? So always thinking about doing everything that we can to get obstacles out of their way so they can do what they need to do for their families.
Thank you for your leadership, and thanks for offering such critical thought on how to approach the communities and approach not only the cleanup, but of course the rebuild.
And thank you for everything that you're doing. I know your partnership really means the world to us. We really appreciate you.
Rebuilding LA is hosted and reported on by me, Kate Cagle. Our senior producer and showrunner is Megan Larson. Our associate producers are Jordan Patterson and Megan Botel. Our camera operators are Peter Grayson and Joshua Summers. Our director of post-production is Patrick Stewart, and our senior sound recording engineer is Nick Norton, with audio engineering help from JTB Studios and Jordan Patterson. Motion graphics are by Dougal Henkin. Our video editors are Daniel Flesher, Michael Ray, and Michael Siegel. Our podcast marketing manager is Bryn Jura, and our product marketing director is Becca Dorman. Our general counsel at the Los Angeles Times is Jeff Glasser. Special thanks to President and Chief Operating Officer of the Los Angeles Times, Chris Argentieri, and the Executive Editor of the Los Angeles Times, Terry Tang. And one final thank you to all the residents of Altadena, Malibu, and the Pacific Palisades for sharing your stories with us. Rebuilding LA is co-created by LA Times Studios President Anna Megzanian and executive produced and co-created by Darius Derrickson.